Terry, I know a big passion of yours within astrology is the ages. I mean, you've even written a book on it. But what is it about the ages that captured your attention, the astrological ages?
The confusion that surrounds them. It's commonly stated in literature and by astrologers that the most confusing, bizarre area of astrology is the astrological ages, whereas astrology is quite tight and got strict rules and angles. All of a sudden, you come to the astrological ages, and if you look up Wikipedia or anything, the difference in opinion of when the age of Aquarius has arrived or should arrive stretches over thousands of years. And people just don't know. Astrologers can't choose when. And even many astrologers to solve this problem say that it can't be done because there's no clear line between one age and another, so that one age sort of merges like some sort of cusp into the other.
Okay.
And so many astrologers claim that we are on the cusp of the Pisces age and the age of Aquarius.
And what do you claim?
Well, strangely enough, I claim a similar thing on one sense, that we are influenced by both, but I also claim that the ages are just like anything else in astrology. Like when the sun is at 29 degrees, 59 minutes and 59 seconds of Aries, and it just moves at one fraction, it's now suddenly not in Aries, it's in Taurus. There's no merging. There's no, maybe for a millionth of a second there's something, but there's no, it's Aries or Taurus. Well, so in ages, I actually make the same claim that there is an exact year, and there would be even an exact time possibly in that year where you could say, this is when the age of Aquarius arrived. But that doesn't detract from the fact that they intermingle, their influences intermingle with each other. And so you get this blurring, we get this effect that if you are an astute astrologer, you could both detect the incredible rise of Aquarius over the last number of centuries, but you could also detect the incredible presence of Pisces that's been around for thousands of years.
So taking a step back here, what does this mean for us as individuals? I imagine it's more societal shifts, but that obviously affects the individual.
Well, it does, because we live in it. And another thing that people don't realise, because there is such mass confusion about the ages, people tend not to go past them. But when I'm working with the ages, I'm very rarely working with the ages. I'm working with sub-periods because, yes, an age is 2,150 years long, but it's got sub-ages of about 178, 179 years long. And there's 12 sub-ages in an age. And then sub-ages have got 12 micro-ages, which are 15 years each. And then they've got 12 nano-ages, which is 15 months each. And then they've got decans or thirds, which are 5 months each. And we're living through those. And all the time we're living through these periods, and they having a direct effect upon us. And for example, recently, we just experienced, within the age of Aquarius, a quite strong 10-year Aquarius period that basically began with the election of Donald Trump. Not exactly, but he's a classic example of what you would expect when Aquarius is around, because Aquarius rules what is different, eccentric, strange, bizarre. I mean, that's the situation that we've been experiencing in the world for a few years now. So yes, it does affect us, and it's quite interesting to see the progression of civilization through these ages.
Okay, and so we're in a mix, emerging of Piscean energy and Aquarian energy.
That's right, and this doesn't happen elsewhere in astrology, so we have to explain why does it apply to the ages, and it's because the ages go backwards. You know, in astrology, yes, the nodes go backwards, and the planets, some of the planets will occasionally, they'll go occasionally backwards, right? But basically everything goes forwards, but our ages go backwards. But even well before I started studying ages, I was taught that the beginning of each sign is its strongest and the end of a sign's weakest. And this can be readily explained just even with the decans, which are the thirds of a sign. So that like if you have the sign Libra, the first third is Libra, the second third is Aquarius, and the third is Gemini. So that tells you straight away that if you're in the first third of Libra, it's obviously stronger in Libra than the other part. But because the ages go backwards, when we leave the age of Pisces and enter the age of Aquarius, even though we're entering the beginning of the age, we're entering the end of the sign because we're coming in from the end. And the end of a sign is the weakest, and the real strength of Aquarius is going to be at the end of the age because that's the beginning of the sign. So what happened in the 15th century at the end of the Pisces age is that Pisces build up to this crescendo. And when the Aquarius age comes along, it's not like this is like some steam frame hitting a cliff like this. It is like a tsunami, and it washes over the age, and Aquarius is just the new kid on the block. In other words, it appears, and it appeared very, very fast, there's no doubt. The classic examples of all the Aquarian developments that happened in the 15th century, which historians call pre-modern times. Pre-modern, all modern. It's still modern times.
So what you're saying is that the Piscean influence is still very strong within this Aquarian age, and it will diminish
That's
as
right.
we move through.
That's right. You can be a little bit more clinical. You can divide the age of Aquarius into two halves, and you can say on the first half, which we're in now, Pisces is stronger than Aquarius. But they're not the same. Aquarius is the emergent sign, so it has its own strength and momentum, but Pisces is the entrenched sign, so it has the strength, and we can see it. The main thing that Pisces rules is corporations, and thus capitalism. They all appeared about a century after the arrival of the age of Aquarius. There were no corporations before that, and capitalism only came about 400 years ago. There was no capitalism. There was people traded, but capitalism means people buying shares in a company with that then can invest and have stock markets and stock exchanges and whatever. So yes, so Pisces is and it also rules religion. So Aquarius rules democracy. So we have seen the emergence of democracy as a significant player in the world, but not necessarily the dominant player. But we still see the entrenched religious influence. I mean, look what's happening in Gaza. Look what's happening all over the world. People, are still fighting wars over religion. And that's Pisces.
Wow. So stepping back once again, when did the age of Aquarius start, and when does it finish?
The age of Aquarius started most likely, and I'll explain why, in 1433. It may have first appeared late in 1432 because the phenomenon that creates the ages is based on a wobble of the earth, but the wobble wobbles. So it's almost like it goes forwards, backwards, a little bit. And so it's very possible that in either 1433 or even 1432 that it went in and out of the Pisces and Aquarius ages a few times. But that doesn't matter. For historical purposes, it is 1433. And from 1433 on, the whole modern world exploded. Our modern world here is not due to the medieval world, it's due to what was happening commencing in the 15th century and moving on. This is the modern world. And they even say the 15th century marks the end of the Middle Ages and the beginning of modernity. And historians, though they don't understand ages, they can see the age. But astrologers are not historians. But people tend to think if they learnt a bit of history in high school, they know history. Well, no, you don't.
Yeah. So it's that's a lot to learn there.
That's right.
Right. But you have researched history a lot and looked at it in the perspective of the ages.
Oh, I've had to become a historian just
Yes.
to do this. But
Yes.
but the reason why I can say 1433 is that as I researched, my first breakthrough in the research of the ages back in 1987 was discovering where the sub-ages were. Well, discovering that they had sub-ages to start with and where they were. But that sort of gave me a century for the arrival of the age of Aquarius. And it took about 15 years to move from the century to a year in that century. And I think I had an earlier rectification. I thought it was 1472 for some years. But basically the reason why I was able to fine-tune it is because after learning sub-ages, I then started studying the 15-year micro-ages. Well, that gives you a little bit of a, if you can find the micro-age, well, that gives you a little tighter one. And then I started working with the thirds of a micro-age, which is the micro-age decans, and they're 5 years. So now we're getting tighter. And once I found I could find them roughly, then I discovered nano-ages where you could derive them, which are only 15 months each. So you get down to 15-month level, you're starting to see these, you can actually see them in history. You can see these little periods. And then the nano-age decans are 5 months. And that's when basically I was able to get the year rather than the century. And it was just one of many epiphanies. I've had so many epiphanies in this research. I mean, I have epiphanies in astrology, but nothing like I have in the astrological ages. So in many ways, the reason why I research the ages so much is I'm an astrological junkie. I want another hit of an epiphany.
Were you excited when you've got it down to the year? I mean,
I was very, I've been excited from this very, very beginning. I remember the first day I decided to look at the ages. I remember some friends came around. It was a winter's day. I think I was lying on the balustrade in the sun, just whatever. And all of a sudden I said to myself, when did the age of Aquarius come? And in my head, in 20 minutes, I formulated how I would go about doing it. And it took me 6 weeks to realize that and get it down to that century. And I was flabbergasted that I found it. I mean, we could do a whole other talk just on my unique path in astrology. It was only due to my unique path in astrology between 1971 and 1987 that allowed me to discover the ages. If I had been a normal astrologer, it's virtually impossible to do it. But I was basically always cut off from the astrological community. I had very little contact with any astrologers, and so I was in a vacuum. I wasn't influenced by the consensus, because the consensus in the astrology community is not the same as reality when it comes to the ages.
Okay. So it was great that you could put yourself in that vacuum and have original thought, and that's
right. And it was the quirk. I mean, the fact is, to create those sub-ages in the way I did. I'm not the first astrologer that attempted to have sub-ages, but I'm the first astrologer that actually applied sub-ages in the way that, with the understanding that when the age of Aquarius is first encountered, it's encountered at the end of the sign. Whereas the common thing with astrologers, researchers, is that they would assume that, okay, when the age of Aquarius starts, yes, it might have 12 sub-ages, but they would always say the first sub-age is Aries, then Taurus, then Gemini. For every age, no change. It didn't link up with any astrology theory whatsoever, whereas the system I use was invented by the Greek astrologers in the 3rd or 4th century BC. In the 3rd or 4th century BC, they're dividing signs up into 12ths. And I had come across that in about 1973. I thought all astrologers did it, so I applied that to my natal astrology work. I used to break up signs into 12, but no one else does that. And it was only because of that I was able to discover the ages. If I hadn't have randomly read that magazine article, actually I can never remember where I was. I was sleeping on the side of the road on the way to Mullumbimby. I'd hitchhiked up from Sydney, and I got there very late
the old
at night.
days of hitchhiking.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I was reading, and I was reading about the 1/12 of signs and how good they were, and which I did, by the way, extensively use in natal astrology for many years.
So when does the age of Aquarius finish?
Oh, well, it finishes about 2,150 years afterwards.
Yep. So
I think it's about the year 3,500. I memorize a lot of dates, but I don't remember all of them. You know, like
it's not quite relevant right now.
No,
we're talking lifetimes away.
That's right. But in that year, yeah. So whenever that time is, say 3,500 approximately, it's that following 1,100 years, which will be the prime time for Aquarius in the world.
Yeah.
And the emergent Capricorn age will be trying to unseat it.
Yes, of course.
Because that's
where it's heading.
It's like the battle of the old Greek gods. As a matter of fact, some of those old Greek mythology stories are talking about these ages. That's what they're based on. I think Greek theogony is very clearly showing the transfer of energy from age to age as it goes around in mythological fashion. Yeah.
So for the next 100 years, what do you feel themes will be?
Gemini.
Why Gemini?
Well, because we are in the Libran sub-age, but sub-ages work like ages. If you have a sub-age, it's the influence of the previous sub-age is even stronger. So we're in, and the best way to say it, you could say that the previous sub-age was Scorpio and the current sub-age is Libra. But I would like to call what we're in now as the Scorpio-Libra sub-age, with the understanding that Scorpio is the dominant sign and Libra is the emergent sign. So we're in the Scorpio-Libra sub-age, which runs from 1970 to 2149.
Yep.
And then within that, they have 3 sub-age decans. So the first sub-age decan is Gemini, and it runs from 1970 to 2029, of which time it will go into its period of greatest influence, what I call the overflow period. So we're already in that now. Now, Gemini, can you see Gemini in the world? Can you see handheld devices? Can you see communication revolution? Can you see, even electric vehicles, the whole vehicle revolution? It's not operating in isolation. It's not like there is Gemini and only Gemini. We've got a potpourri or a witch's brew. We've got Scorpio strongly sitting in there. We've got Libra emergent. We've got Gemini very strongly sitting in there. So we have all these different ingredients. And also too, the Gemini has affected astrology stunningly. You know, when I learnt astrology in 1971, started learning it, there was really astrology was just one thing. There was just one way of doing a chart. There were no nodes, there was no asteroids, there was no fixed stars. I mean, there were certain unique astrologers that would research these things, but in mainstream astrology, there was just a simple chart. Now you've got this huge diversity of techniques. Well, that's Gemini, because Gemini rules the twins and rules fragmentation. It also rules the opposite of expansion. And so this is what we're experiencing now, is that we've had a few centuries of expansion as a result of the booming Sagittarius sub-age and overflow that came to an end in 1970 with the baby boomers, who were the last hurrah for the Sagittarius. And that Sagittarius momentum of good fortune and economic fortune and population explosion is being undermined by Gemini, because Gemini oppose it. And that's why you're getting shrinkflation. That's why you're getting all these corporations trying to trick you. If you notice that the major marketing technique is actually trickery now. They're trying to trick you.
Yes.
And that's Gemini, the trickster.
Right.
So
it does feel like that sometimes, that like companies are just trying to get money for, you can't cancel subscriptions because they make it so challenging. All those kind of things.
It's trickery. That's right. So and because they can't expand up until for a few centuries until recently, everything was just expanding because you had a world full of underdeveloped nations and whatever. But that expansion has got to a certain point where they're just having trouble. They're just having trouble. If you put out a product, it just doesn't automatically sell. You've got to get people to buy it. And generally, I've learned and noticed it's through trickery. That's,
It's fascinating. So it's like we're moving forward, like the technology's getting more complex, by the second, but there is a form of contraction as well.
That's right. And of course, one area that's not contracting is technology. Well, we're in the age of
Yes.
Aquarius.
Yes.
Aquarius is electricity and technology. So it's not like, but even sociologists are predicting that the world population will peak this century and start dropping. In other words, it's already in the massive slowdown phase.
Yes.
And that's another example of the Sagittarius. Sagittarius produced the population explosion, but now we've got Gemini saying enough is enough.
Yes. Right.
Right. So it's a very different energy. So, but it's a very communicative energy. So we can see that. I mean, everyone on their phone now can watch movies, it's just unbelievable what we have at our Gemini fingertips.
Yeah, right. But it sounds like there's going to be a change around 2029, you mentioned. Is that going to be pronounced, or what does that mean?
No, there's always a change. It all depends on resonance. It depends on what things are happening. There's no doubt that in 2029, what happens is we get to the end of the Gemini sub-age decan, which means that our smartphones now are the Model T Ford still. We're still in very basic territory because Gemini is going to go into overflow massive mode for the next 60 years. So we're still just dealing with Gemini on a very elementary level. But what starts in 2029 is the Aquarius decan that will run through till about the year 2088 and then explode over the following 60 years. And so that is the first major Aquarius period the world will experience in the age of Aquarius. It's been experiencing Aquarius all the way since 1433. And we've had a preview recently. There was a preview from 2014 to 2024. We had basically everyone alive has never experienced Aquarius to that level that we had from 14 to 2024, 25. And one of the key elements that Aquarius rules is interruption. And we all had the greatest interruption to our life we had experienced. And that was COVID, right? Now we're going to experience Libra. Libra has now come online. And Libra, believe it or not, in the astro, basically rules major conflict. Okay. The biggest wars tend to happen around Libra. And so I do not predict in any way a third world war because the astrological nightmare that created the First and the Second World War existed back in the first half of the 20th century and doesn't exist now.
So there'll be something there, but it'll have a different face.
It's what you would technically say is we should experience, like this year or the next 4 years, the greatest conflict or conflicts that we have experienced in our life. It's not the Third World War. It's just the greatest conflict because you didn't experience the Second World War.
No,
no, that's right. So yes, that's what I expect now. Even Trump's tariff war fits into that.
Yes.
It's still a war. It's still a war, yes.
It's a different form.
And that conflict, that's what Libra rules, where you get opposing parties, particularly when they're both equally strong. And it's also richer because in our 2,150 years age of Aquarius, we're in the Libran 700-year decan. So this little Libra period we're in now, it's resonating with its grandpa or grandpa.
Okay.
Yes. In other words, each period is not of equal strength. It depends if it can resonate with a larger period, it has a larger impact.
Yes.
So this little Libra period we're in now, yes, it's even though it's fraught with conflict, you do get also major peace treaties because that's what the other side of Libra rules, peace.
Well,
you can get major peace treaties.
Polarity.
Yeah, so maybe there is a resolution to the Russian invasion of Ukraine. But that's another interesting story, invasions. I mean, it's got nothing to do with astrology, but I have to research history a lot. And one historian stated that no aggressor nation ever wins. For centuries. Like, in other words, it just never happens. In other words, an aggressor nation can go and attack and whatever, but 10 years later, they're not there. But so we are in there's no doubt that we're in a time of conflict, and we will just have to wait and see how that transpires. Because when COVID came along and I experienced that interruption, I was shocked, because here it is. I was an astrologer of almost 50 years, and I did not realize on a mundane level that Aquarius rules interruption. It stops the normal flow. If this is what life is meant to be, it's Aquarius' job to upend that. So in many ways, I don't know if I want to be here at the end of the age of Aquarius, when Aquarius is at its strongest.
Well, I've got some news. I don't think you will be.
No.
But that Aquarian, that would be the Uranus energy as well, wouldn't it? That is interruptive on some level. Is that right?
Well, you brought in a very interesting philosophical question there without realizing it, because yes, Uranus does rule the sign Aquarius, but what role does Uranus have in the age of Aquarius? What roles did Neptune have in the age in Pisces? Well, I don't know. I haven't been able to relate planetary energies in the ages ever. Now, that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. You'd have to do the research. So, like even now, so for instance, we're being in this little Libran period. Do the cycles of Venus have anything to do with this? I can't say. I certainly have never encountered that, but then I'm the only one researching this field at this point of time, and I haven't researched it.
Yeah, that's a new book for you, Terry.
I'm not certain what my new book on astrology would be. Most likely, my first book, the one you showed before, is basically just covering the ages and age decans since about 12,000 BC. But I think I sort of have written it, would be on sub-ages starting maybe about 5,000 years ago. It all depends on historical accuracy. You lose historical accuracy once you go back about the second millennium BC and previous. It's hard to get historical accuracy. So yes. Yeah.
There's a challenge for you.
That's right.
You've got your friend ChatGPT now. I know it's been helping you a lot with your research, you were saying.
I've only just started using it. And see, that ChatGPT is linked to Aquarius. And that tells me that this it really became a reality in this little preview period from 214 to 224. That period was a preview for this Aquarius sub-age decan and overflow that will start in late 2029. So we won't see it. So what it means, the heyday, the peak of the whole ChatGPT and AI will be around about 2080.
When
this Aquarius sub-age decan comes to its end.
Right, yeah.
I don't usually call the end, I usually call its peak.
Yes.
Because the end of any period is its peak, and then it washes like a tsunami. We're still under Scorpio. Scorpio rules pollution. See, Scorpio rules excrement.
Yes.
Well, what's the excrement of the world? Pollution. Yeah. So yes, we are having to deal with the pollution, and it also rules instability. I have come across commentators stating that the baby boomer generation has experienced more change in their life than any generation known in history.
It's unbelievable when I think of, my parents, my father's 92, and he talks about getting the horse and cart to school. I mean, and I just stop and think the amount of change he has seen in his lifetime is absolutely remarkable.
That's right. I mean, I can still remember having the milk ladled out of a container in the back of a horse-drawn cart into our billy, our can, like everyone else in our street, and that's how you got your milk.
Yeah.
And that's only in the 1950s.
It's just
The amount of change, and that's why people are feeling sort of unsettled in a way too, because it's
a lot to deal with the speed of change
That's
now,
right.
isn't it? I mean, I look at my father. I mean, you know, he struggles to send an email, and I understand that. It's just not a world that
That's right.
he has had to experience in his, you know, peak years.
That's right. That's right. So, but at the same stage, on a reassuring level, this may contradict what people feel in their guts, that if I look at history overall, as a general rule, things are getting better. There's nowhere in history, if I could be time travel, if I was allowed to time travel on a one-way trip, there's no way I'd go. There's no way I would go anywhere back in history, anywhere other than right up where I am now. Even though we experience so much turmoil, basically that's been going on forever. You know, like even in about 5000 BC, 90% of all males in Europe were killed.
I think I'd take my time machine back to the 1970s or 80s perhaps, but I don't think or even the 50s.
That's
60s. I mean,
but even then, the health, I would probably be dead because the cardiac health that I require wasn't available back then. That's right.
Yeah,
That's right. So so it is a bit reassuring. But the reason why people aren't seeing that positivity is because we are under the influence of a Cancer, micro-age and overflow. And Cancer is the sign that makes people depressed. So people are feeling depressed. And so when you're depressed, everything looks blacker.
yes.
So that's half the problem of the world at the moment is people's depressed outlooks. There's certainly reason to get upset about, but still it's more so that people are actually collectively moody. Upset.
So a good time to be a counsellor or philosopher or.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Well, it's definitely anything involving Gemini would be quite handy. Yes.
I mean, you could pick your career choices around these ages on some level.
You possibly could. I mean, it's another whole topic, but like the baby boomer generations follow the signs of the micro-ages. We have 15-year micro-ages, and if you divide them in half, each 7.5 years creates a generation. Now, the baby boomers were two halves of the Sagittarius micro-age overflow. And they even say that, the Sagittarian A's and B's, and the dividing line was the exact midpoint of that. It's uncanny how accurate it can be. And each generation actually follows the flavour of their micro-ages, and they have it. So you're born in a different generation to me. You have a different influence.
So what is my influence?
Well, what year were you born?
70.
70. So you're born in that critical time. At the end of the Scorpio micro-age of the Scorpio sub-age. So you're a double Scorpio person. You're what you call
that sounds intense.
That's right. I'll be very careful of you. That don't strike. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
So, but I don't think I have researched your generation. I think I got to the baby boomers and then I stopped. I do need to move on.
Yeah.
But like all research, it's fascinating. I just love sitting down at my desk with a computer. There's Wikipedia and other things.
You're in your element.
And I honestly feel like the first explorer to get to America and then just wander around, and you're there on your own. And you just get to discover all this stuff, and that's me. I just get
the frontier.
I get to wander around these astrological ages that everyone is still confused about which 1,000 years they start, and I'm sitting there working out what's happening in that 5 months.
Yeah.
It is incredible.
It's been great to chat today, Terry. Thanks for sharing all that.
No, it's a pleasure.